Here we go again. Welcome back. Finishing up my top 100. I today am doing 70 through 61. So we're getting closer to the top half. Whatever. Yeah, I don't have a good. I don't write up anything. You can tell how prepared I am for these things. So that's my introduction. We're sticking to it. Start with number 70, which I'm going to have three in a row here who have been on the list all 5 years that I've done this. Number 70 this year was 57 the year before, was 75 before then. This is Lord of the Rings The Confrontation. This is a two-player game, asymmetric game from Reiner Knizia that is essentially Lord of the Rings but Stratego and only 9 characters on each side. There's also a deluxe edition that came out that I've never played, and then there's a new version coming out that Ghost Galaxy is coming out with. So that'll be interesting because it's been very hard to get a hold of this, and I'm glad it's coming back into print. Yeah, I really love Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. In this game, you're playing as either essentially the Fellowship, or you're playing as kind of the general bad guys. So think like the Balrog, the Cave Troll, the Witch King, and things like that. The evil side has better strength, but the good side has, first of all, the most powerful character, Gandalf. Makes sense. And they also have some more tricks up their sleeve. The way the good side wins is by getting Frodo to Mordor so he can, dunk the ring in Mount Doom. The way the bad side wins is by killing Frodo or getting 3 people in the Shire, which is rare that happens. Really interesting game. A lot of good decision making. Still a decent amount of randomness, just because I don't know, randomness or so much as like guesswork because you don't really know what your opponent did. Really like it as a two-player only game. Number 70, that is Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. Number 69 has been on the list all 5 times. So this is the lowest it's gotten. I need to play this game again. Hopefully I will when the new expansion comes, which we definitely backed, and that is Root. This is one of 4 boxes I have of Root. I'm looking at the other ones right down there. This used to be Amy's favorite game. I mean, she still really likes it. This is the asymmetric game in a lot of ways, in that you're fighting over the woodlands. Each of the factions plays totally different. In the first version of the game, which is we played it when there were no expansions out except for maybe the first one, which we haven't played yet. But we got this from the library and we played, and you have just like the cats, and you have the vagabond, the birds, and the woodland alliance, and they all play so differently, which is really cool. It's very hard to it's very hard to play this game. It's especially hard for me because I'm always not to. It's so hard for me because I'm always running the game and either teaching the game to someone new, which is fairly often if I'm playing this game, or I should say, and to those who have already played it before, I am making sure that the rules are followed because generally I'm the person playing the game who knows the rules the best. It can be a little bit less fun to be a game runner and play this game. So I usually don't necessarily do well, but it is just such an interesting game. And I really love a lot of the factions. My favorite is the Rats, which is it's like the initial expansion had 4 characters, and they came out with 2 more, and then 2 more. I mean, there's been so many expansions. There are currently, I think, 10 factions for this, and they're coming out with 3 more. Excited to give that a try. Hopefully, it'll bring back to the table. That is Root. Number 68, I do not own. I have owned in the past. I've given it away a couple of different times. Back in 2022, this barely hung on at 99, but it's been on the list all 5 years. This is Bärenpark. This is one of my favorite polyomino games. Probably my favorite, like, pure polyomino game. Obviously, I love Feast for Odin, but it's got so much more going on. This is just putting down the polyominoes, which, if you don't know what they are, I realize I'm not showing you a copy of the game. A polyomino is like Tetris pieces, but tetra means 4, poly means multiple, and so this is you have different numbered shapes of pieces, and you're putting down like might just be like one little square, or it could be like an L shape, or it could be this crazy shape, and you're trying to put them down and fill up your bear zoo because Bärenpark just means bear park in German, and be the first one to do that, but also just be the one who gets the most points along the way. That's number 68, Bärenpark. Number 67 is a roll and right, well, a flip and right, actually. Was 77 last year, 57 before that, so it's sticking around in the sevens. That's interesting. This is Cartographers. one of my go-tos if I want to play an interesting game with more than 7 people. I think the player count on this probably says like some 1+ or something like that. Where's the player count? This is the collector's edition, which I got in trade with Thunderworks at a convention. Shout out to Thunderworks Games, great guys who are always, when I was working for All Play at conventions, they're always like, "Hey, can we do some trading? Can we get some All Play stuff? And you get some of our stuff?" So I wound up with most of Thunderworks stuff, which is really cool. 1 to 100 players, it says. You can play with more than 100. It should just say 1+. I understand why they do that. Cartographers is a flip and write where you are making a map. And again, I said this with Trails of Tucana. I think that's one of the coolest themes. We're just like, yeah, I'm making a map. I'm figuring out what's out there, writing it down. And in this one, if you have the colored pencils, which I do, it works a lot better because you're making this colorful map. You can see exactly where things are going. And it's very much trying to maximize your points. And there's 4 different goals going on, but then you also got other ways of scoring points and negatives. And yeah, really a lot of decision making as to how do I choose which of these goals to focus on. Every time a card comes up, you have 2 decisions, and then 2 different shapes you could draw, or 2 different colors of the same shape. Where do you put those in order to maximize your points? I really like cartographers. I think it works best when you do have the heroes version, which has these little heroes you can put down to take out the monsters. But regardless, even just the base game, very cool. Number 66 was 22 last year. I didn't get a chance to play it last year, and I need to focus on playing this more, especially because one of my good friends, Brendan, loves this game. This is Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. This is one of the few games on the top 100 that is in that medium heavy range that I love that is not in the top 20. And the reason, I just haven't played it enough. It's a very cool game. There's these tracks going on. Actually, the one time I went to Gen Con, this was the first demo that we did, and we sat the first time in the expo hall. We're like, let's sit down, let's give this a try, and it's great. This is from Stan Kordonsky, who also did the Endless Winter Paleo Americans, which I talked about earlier. I think it was up in the 90s. But this one is Bronze Age civilizations. It's very abstracted, but there are some territories, and you can build your player board out. It's one of those things kind of like Scythe and some other games where you build something. So when you build a building, you take it from your player board, you take it off, you put it on the board, and now it's both on the board, but also upgrade your player board, and that's really neat. And it has tracks, tableau building, dice drafting, a lot going on in this game, but not too heavy. That's Minos. Dawn of the Bronze Age. Number 65 is new to the list. Played this last year for the first time, but I actually played it recently. And I was like, ooh, this is really good. This is Wondrous Creatures. Wondrous Creatures is a little bit lighter than a lot of the games in that medium-heavy range that I talk about, but it would not surprise me if this moves up closer into my top 20 or so. Wondrous Creatures is one of those games where you have a huge deck full of unique cards. They have various different tags, and most of the game is just choosing what cards to play. Kind of a lot like Terraforming Mars, we'll say. But not as complicated as Terraforming Mars. There is a board, but on the board you're just mostly putting your guys out to get spots where it gives you food to play more cards and allows you to draw more cards. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways that you differentiate yourself in this. Like, you do start with everyone has a special ability, kind of like Corporations on Terraforming Mars again. But you do have to upgrade first before you can use your special ability. But the cards are just so cute, too. Like, the whole aesthetic of the game, very neat. It's got these chunky wooden meeples. If I could take it out and show you easily, I would. But chunky wooden meeples, you put them out, and they're like dinosaurs or dragons or things. And then you have your one guy who's leading the group, and it's a little wooden meeple with a magnet on the base that snaps onto and rides one of the dinosaurs or dragons and things. Really cute. I'm a big fan. I think this one is on its way up, not down. This is Wondrous Creatures, number 65. This one has not been on the list for a couple of years, but it was it was 107 last year. It was 108 the year before that. This is Ethnos. Ethnos has made it back on the list at 64. I haven't played it recently. I think I've just been thinking about how neat of a design this is. The main thing with Ethnos is, yes, you're trying to get some like area majority to get points. Cool. But the way you do that is by doing this hand management system that is really, really neat. There's, I think, 12 different factions of decks, and you take 6 of them and shuffle them together. So each game you're playing with 6, it'll be slightly different because you're playing with 6 different people, or 6 different factions, rather. And the way that those interact into the hand management game is really cool. You're trying to put together these bands of cards, which will be either all the same suit or all the same number. Excuse me, not number, all the same suit or all the same color, because colors are different than suits in this game. And then you play a band down, but then you discard the rest of your hand, barring some special abilities. And that is really interesting because it's, well, do I want to keep drawing, trying to get the better cards, knowing that the cards that I get, I might have to discard because I'm going to play a separate band? Or do I want to just play what I have, even though it's not going to give me a lot, and just grab those little bit of points? You don't know exactly when the game is ending. That's really interesting too. And you play 3 different rounds, so you have a chance to kind of come back from some mistakes. That is Ethnos by Paolo Mori, I should say, who has some other games on this top 100 that we haven't gotten to yet. Next one here is the second Reiner Knizia in this top 10. I think third one on the list so far. There's 2 higher, but this is Lost Cities. Yeah, Lord of the Rings Confrontation was Reiner Knizia. This one is also a 2-player heads-up game by Reiner Knizia. And talk about hand management. Like, this is the hand management game in a lot of ways. When I say hand management, I mean you have a hand of cards and you're trying to manage and manipulate what is in that hand while not making horrible mistakes. Because in this game, you're always playing a card and then drawing a card. Well, when you play a card, you could discard instead, but then your opponent has access to it. And because it's a 2-player game, 0 sum, which and then of course you were like, well, I got to wait for them to play that 5 yellow card, and then I can discard this 4 and this 3 that are in my hand. But then you just start getting tempted. You're like, wait a minute. What if I get, the 8 and the 9 in yellow? I could start getting some points there. If I put a multiplier down, I could get a lot of points there. And then you start making all these plans, and then they don't come to fruition because you just don't get the cards that you want. You set up, you're like, this is going to be great, and then it never is. And that's beautiful. Very, very stressful game. I feel like I'm talking a lot about it like it was like on tour I talked about the other day. I love a game where you come up with a great plan, you're like, this is going to go awesome, and then it just doesn't. So good. Lost Cities, 5th year on the list. It was 66 last year, is 32 before that. Really love this game. That's Lost Cities. Number 62 is another one that's been on the list for all 5 years. Man, there's a lot of in this right in this section that's just been there for forever. This is Hanabi. In Hanabi, you're kind of playing a cooperative Lost Cities where you can't look at the cards. Like, bear with me, it works out because this is a hand management game in that you are trying to find out information about your hand because you will have 4 cards in your hand and then you will draw them, but you hold them up facing away from you. So then other people have to give you clues about what's in your hand. They'll be like, oh, this card and this card are yellow, for example, which I don't know if they are, but you're like, oh, okay, these 2 are yellow, which means these 2 are not yellow. And then you have to memorize that. Like, you have to remember things, and you will not remember everything. This plays best at 4, I would say, though it's still good at 5. There is a weird kind of hidden communication, like knowledge thing to this game where, for example, it's so hard to talk about because there are rules and there are metagames that come up within your own play style that tell you, oh, don't do this. And if you do this, it's a bad idea and we will probably lose the game. Amy Amy gets mad at people when they don't follow our local meta, meaning my house, like our house, when they don't follow those rules, which is so funny to see. And I do have to make sure that people know before playing this game that you're in for that. Like, you're in for that sort of like, oh, you made a mistake that you didn't realize you could make, and now we're screwed. But again, I kind of like that. I really do. There's something very tantalizing about this game too, because if you get a perfect score, You're playing 5 different colors and you get them all up to 25 points. I cannot even tell you how many times I've scored 24 points. It's like more than a handful, certainly. Like at this point when I play the game, I'm most likely I'm going to get 24 points, and I've never gotten a perfect score. And I need to get that perfect score. Number 62, Hanabi. Number 61, I don't own. It was new to the list last year. This is Baseball Highlights 2045. This is baseball in a box, but the theme is very futuristic. Like I think all the pitchers are cyborgs or something, and like you got robots, you got cyborgs, and you got like humans on steroids and things like that. But the way that it works is it's a deck building game, and you play like a kind of a season of games, and then you do a World Series, and this is just against one other player. Usually, I think there's other ways to play, and then whoever wins the World Series wins the game. Along the course of the game, you are improving your deck by drafting these cards into it, and you do have some decisions to make, and you have some interesting the ways that the way the game the coolest thing about this game is if you know the game of baseball, you intuitively know how to play this game already. And that's really neat. And it'll be like, oh, well, if you get a single and there's a guy on first, he's going to progress to like third, I think is how it works. And that's typically what happens in baseball and things like that. And then there's just the whole system of, 3 outs and the inning is, the half inning is over and things like that. A lot of the rules are just taken directly from baseball, but it's abstracted down into this game where you have these little tiny little or base runners, meeples, and then you're trying to put some guys on base and then hit them in, either get RBIs or get some home runs. And conversely, if someone's on first, you're trying to run the double play if you're on defense and things like that. I really like it. Only played it the one time with Jonathan at Origins, but we both really enjoyed it. I know he picked it up, but I just don't play too many 2-player games, and so it's hard to get it to the table. And also, I don't own it, but I will pick up a version. This is one of those games where it's hard to know which version to pick up, just because there are so many different iterations of the game. It came out in so many different ways, and there's so many expansions. But I'll pick up some kind of version of it. Anyway, that was number 61, Baseball Highlights. Thanks for watching. I'll be back again with the next one. It'll be 60 to 51. And yeah, let me know what you thought. Thanks a lot. Bye.